everyone, and welcome to another review from Colour with Claire. Today we're going to be looking at the Arteza Twine Markers. Now these come in a pack of 48 different colours and they're water based, so they're going to come off skin really easily. They're not going to bleed through paper like you find alcohol markers do. So if you use a lot of double-sided colouring books and you want to try inks and pens but you don't want it to bleed through and ruin the other side, then something like this is your best bet. So they are purportedly blendable, which we'll test in a moment. They're ideal for watercolour techniques and journaling, and also I think for the modern calligraphy, like you can see on some of the images here. So if you enjoy doing the modern lettering, these are a really good option for that. Now on the back you have all of the colours listed with a number and a name, and then the Arteza details. You can scan this QR code to get some tips on the Twine Markers. And yeah, so let's open up the box and see what they look like. So the 48 set has 4 separate trays of pens, so I don't want to break my nail. So here is the top tray. They're plastic trays, there's nothing special. We've got all of the yellows, oranges, pinks, then moving into the reds, purples, greens and blues, and the greys and some of the darker colours as well there. We've got black, obviously, we've got a few different greys, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch them all out quite quickly so that you can see every single colour and how it looks on the page. So if I just show you one of the pens to start with, so let's just grab this one at random. So they are called Twine Markers, or well, I don't think you'd say TwiMarkers, even though it's supposed to be twin. I think TwiMarkers just is easier to say, which means obviously that they have a double-ended format. So you've got the brush end and you've got the very fine detailed end. So if we open up the brush, which you can tell what it is, obviously, first of all, because it's transparent, so you can see the brush straight away. You can also tell because the brush end has this kind of weird little recess on it. So it's easy just to glance at it and know that you're picking up the brush end from that. So we'll have a look inside. So there's a little brush symbol just painted on the barrel there to further indicate which end is which. And then you've got the brush itself, which is really small and delicate. It's not like a huge Copic brush or Tombow or Winsor & Newton brush marker. It's very small, it's very delicate and very refined. So it's still going to be really handy to get in intricate spaces in your colouring, even though it is the thicker of the two ends, which you'll see if we look at the other end, how this is very, very thin and fine. Now the actual nib itself feels really strong and sturdy. It feels like a plastic nib. It doesn't feel like a fibre tipped nib, if that makes sense. It feels like it's going to stand up to some use. You know, if you use quite a lot of pressure when you're colouring, things like that, it feels quite sturdy. On the barrel itself, you've got the Arteza name, Twine Marker, water-based ink, blendable. You've got the name of this pen, which is Cantaloupe Orange, the number of the pen, and then non-toxic on the back. So it's all transparent, as you can see. So you can see the actual fibre. I don't know what they call this, the inserts inside of pens. They're kind of made of a spongy fibre that's soaked in ink, and you can see it all the way there. So I'm guessing if that gets lighter, you'll sort of know that it's running out. So that's the basic makeup of the pen. So what I think we'll do is we'll swatch out every colour so that you can see what they look like in real time. And what we've got here, so this is neon yellow. So that really is neon. And you can see straight away the thickness of the line that you're able to create with the brush. You can also go very, very thin with the brush as well. So it means you can fill in like really large areas quite quickly, but you can also, if you don't want to go over the edge of the lines, use this very, very thin side of the pen. So really, really good options there for you to do different colouring pages that maybe have 2 different styles on the page. So if you've got like larger areas in a mandala and smaller areas in the same mandala, but you don't want the colours to be different to each other, if that makes sense, you want the colours to stay consistent, you can use the same pen with the same ink all the way through your piece. So this one is Sapphire Yellow. I'm just going to do a little swatch. That one's obviously much more muted. It's almost like a deco yellow. If you know of the Prisma colours, I always compare colours to Prisma because I think I know every single Prisma and what they look like off by heart. This one, that one we just did, by the way, was lemon yellow. This one is the Cantaloupe Orange that I got out to show you the pen. We've got peach. There's neon orange, so another neon. We've got marmalade orange. So we've got a good range of yellows and oranges so far. We'll see when we've swatched them all out if there's anything lacking. This is just plain orange. This is coral. See, I could have done this as a speed up, but I thought you'd appreciate just looking at them as I'm doing it. This is blush pink. I really like that coral colour actually. It's not often you find true coral in water-based markers. This is wild pink. Really nice colour, that one. They're really juicy as well, these pens. Even though the brush is quite delicate and small, it does pack a punch. This is watermelon pink. Another beautiful pink there. And that is the first tray done. Then we've got neon pink. We've got bubblegum pink. This is fuchsia. So I'm really loving the range of pinks so far. Obviously there's only 48 colours in this set, so you're not going to get every single in-between shade that you want. This is hot pink. Looks very, very similar to this one here, but maybe there's a difference. We'll let it dry and see what we think. This is rose red. So that's kind of like a tomato red or a poppy red. This is ruby red, so a bit darker, yeah. It's got a bit of pink in it, that one as well. It's almost like a rose carmine or a dark carmine. This one, very oddly, is in the middle of the pinks and purples. This is earth red. So whether or not you think that's a red or kind of a brown, it's kind of your preference, I suppose, or whatever you think, but I probably would have put that with the browns. This is lavender. Another thing to mention, as you can see here, we've got a bit of fibre just on the tip of the brush. Now these brushes are made of fibre, and with them being water-based, you will notice that if you go over the same area too many times, it will start to lift up the fibres of the paper, and you'll end up getting loads and loads of little fibrous bits of paper stuck to your brush. So water-based markers are not suitable for layering and layering and layering because they just soak through the paper and they break it up. Alcohol markers don't do that. But obviously then you've got the whole thing of them bleeding through. So there's swings and roundabouts for each, you know, there's pros and cons for each water-based and alcohol. This is Egyptian blue. Really beautiful, vivid colours at the moment. This is lilac. Sometimes with water-based markers, you often find that they're darker than you think they're going to be because they just soak into the paper and they end up looking darker than the caps. And these are actually quite vibrant and bold, so I'm really impressed by that. This is burgundy. Second tray done. Then we've got sage green. Mint green, lovely colour, love mint green. This is spearmint blue, beautiful, another beautiful colour. Those go really well together, really fresh and summery. This is Arctic blue. Okay, I think I'm in love with the greens and blues at the moment. This one is bright blue. And cerulean blue, Quite similar, those two. Next up is Ocean Blue. Oh, that's a gorgeous colour. It's almost like a parrot green. Kind of, oh, it's beautiful. This is Seafoam Green. What a lovely name, Seafoam. I'm absolutely loving these greens and blues, guys. We've got Emerald Green. Another beautiful green. Emerald is my birthstone. It's my birthday next week. Neon Green. It's a really bright green. Then we've got the Apple Green. It should be... Oh, actually, it's not too much different to the Neon Green. Thought it would be a lot darker and sort of desaturated. This is Chartreuse Green. There we go. That's really bright, almost lime green. And then the last tray, we start off with a grey. This is all a bit of a mixture, this one. You probably want to move the pens around and put them in an order that's better for you. This is Cloudy Grey. Then we've got Periwinkle Blue. Indigo. So I guess these are like the bright kind of coolish blues, and these are the more warm blues. I don't, you know, I always get mixed up with cool and warm, especially when it comes to blue, because I don't really know what cool and warm blues are. This is Violet. So really, why didn't that go there? I don't know. It's just the way that they've laid them out in the packet. But that's easily fixable. This is Royal Purple. Beautiful purple. This is Olive Green. Jungle Green. Denim Blue. Then we've got our black, which is Noir. This is Concrete Grey. So just looking back at that previous grey, I think they're both cool greys actually. You can get cool grey, warm grey, French grey, neutral grey. I think they're cool greys. This is Yellow Ochre. And then finally, we've got Sienna Brown. Okay, so let's have a look through the colours and see what's what. Now, the first thing that is popping out to me is that there are barely any browns at all. And brown is a colour that I do use quite a lot, especially on landscapes, things like that. So I do like to have a nice range of browns, reddish browns, oaky browns, ochre browns. And there really isn't that much to choose from here. As I say, looking at this colour now, which I said probably would go with the browns, it really does probably belong where it is, because looking at it against these browns, it's far more suited to the reds, I think. Blues I'm really pleased with. I think there could probably been more of a difference between the darker blues, in fact all of the blues, because these two here are almost identical to each other. Same with this one here and this one here. Both purples look exactly the same. So I think probably they could do with just tweaking their colours a little bit at Arteza and creating a 48 that's a bit more well-rounded. But as for oranges and pinks, you cannot complain. Just beautiful. You've got your kind of reddish purples, and then you've got one bluish purple. But I love the colours. They are lacking in some areas, but I do actually love the way that they've laid down, and they are really bold and vibrant. So, you know, thumbs up from me. Now I'm just going to put on screen a speed colouring of me using these pens, and you will have seen this if you will have watched my Masha's Mandalas Spring video. So I coloured a page in this book with the Twine Markers only. I did use a little bit of pencil, did cheat on the background, but all of it basically is Twine Markers, and as you can see, came out really, really well. And yeah, so I really enjoyed using them. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a colour along with them, possibly. I've got that many things on the list that I want to do for this channel, but it might have to wait a little while. But I do want to definitely use these more, because it's not often that you find really decent water-based pens. There is a lot of budget water-based pens out there, but these feel decent to me. I like the fact that they've got a brush nib and that very, very fine nib as well. And I like the fact that the brush nib is quite firm. I don't really like kind of very floppy, very flexible brush nibs, and this one really, it does have a little bit of give to it, but not too much. And you can still get those very, very fine lines with it, and then very, very thick sort of block colour areas. Again, with the very fine nib, you know, it's super fine. You could use these for your bullet journaling, diaries, anything like that. It doesn't have to just be for colouring. You can use them anywhere. So now that we've had a look at the page that I completed, this one here, let's have a go at a little bit of blending, because it did say on the packet that they were blendable. So what I'm going to do, because obviously water-based markers are very, very difficult to blend on the paper together like you do with an alcohol marker. So I'm going to use the ink technique that I usually do with Tombows. So let's just pick out a couple of colours that I think might go really well together, might blend nicely together. So how about we go for a red and an orange? So let's go for these here. Now I'd have to remember, because I didn't write the names or numbers down, have to remember which ones they were. So I think that the red was the rose red, wasn't it? Because I said it was like a poppy red in the Prismas. And then this orange, let's just have a look. Let's do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's this one here, which is orange, just plain orange. So let's have a look. What I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to scribble some ink onto this palette here. And by the way, this palette turned up on my doorstep from my Amazon wish list, and I have no idea who sent it. One of you viewers from the channel sent it through, and I really, really appreciate it. So hopefully you're watching this and you'll hear my thanks. But it's actually from Caran d'Ache, and it's got a kind of rough side, which you would probably scribble your Neo colours on or something like that. And then it's got this very smooth, glossy, non-porous side, which you would put ink on. So I've put some red down, I've put some orange down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get just a paintbrush, and I'm going to mix these together and see what happens. So yeah, so even though you've only got kind of 48 colours, you do have the option of creating further colours by blending. So for example, we've got this lovely warm orange. You could add a bit more red if you wanted to. You could add a bit more orange if you wanted to, but you can't layer up too much with water-based markers, as I've said. But I do often find it easier to pick up ink in this way and paint it on to coloured pages rather than using the pens straight onto the paper. Now this is fairly smooth paper, so it won't react too badly if I try and blend it, but I just pop that down on the page and then pop this down. It's actually not too bad, but you can see where the blend line is, and it is starting to pill up the paper, you know, if you try and do it too much. So try and use this technique where you put the ink down on a non-porous surface, pick it up with a paintbrush and do it that way, and then you can add in loads and loads of different colours. So let's see if we can add in some yellow for that. So let's go for this one here. This is the lemon yellow. So I'm going to pop some of that onto the palette. Let's grab some of the red, and then we've got the beautiful orange and then the yellow. So you can see, look at that, it's a beautiful blend, lovely sunset blend, and that would work really, really well on your colouring pages. Let's just do that again. We've got some orange, some yellow. So you see how that blends much, much nicer than it did when you do it, you know, pen on pen. And obviously it's not as saturated, but you can just always add more ink. So let's just try it with some fresh ink. Where'd that yellow go? Here we go. And let's try that. So we've got our red, our orange, and our yellow. Really, really nice. Very subtle blend as well, isn't it? It's quite gradiated. There's not really any lines in there, and that is what you would get if you did it with the pen. Obviously, if I got that yellow now, and tried to pop it on the end of that orange, you can see it's just like 3 totally separate colours. It's nothing like doing it from the palette. So that's a really good way of blending water-based pens. If you find that they do break up your paper and it's really annoying, then you can just always blend it on something else. Even if you've just got like a little dinner plate or something, a little side plate, as long as it's like a ceramic or non-porous, you can just scribble it on. I've even got a plate, I'll show you. I've even got a plate in my paint tray that I use for that purpose. So you don't have to have any fancy tools or anything like that. So let's talk about price. The 48 set is $38.99 US, which equates to $36.98 Great British pounds. I do, however, have a exclusive 10% off discount code if you buy through the Arteza website. That's for both the US and the UK, and that code is Colour with Claire 1. So if you enter Colour with Claire 1 at the checkout where the little discount code box is, you will get 10% off your order. Or you can pop over to Amazon and buy them through there, whatever is easiest for you, but the code will only work on the Arteza website itself. I'll be popping all the links in the description below. Now, is there anything else you want to know? If there is, please ask away in the comments. I think I've done my best to show you all the different colours, the features of the pens, the blending capability, and also obviously a whole picture that I coloured with them. So, but anything else you want to ask, do so in the comments and I will surely get back to you. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon on Colour with Claire.